This podcast is sponsored by funkytshirts.co.uk.
For me, it's right for the movie. You know, it's like you don't have to be historically accurate because this is a creative interpretation, but it feels right for the story we're telling, you know.
You say you're looking for someone, never weak, but always strong.
Hello there, and welcome to More Movies Podcast, number 68.
For redundancy, they send 68 souls worth of food. That's for 6 people.
Hello, bienvenue, and welcome. You are tuned into the podcast where myself, Greg Fisher, and my colleague David Roberts like to talk about movies we've been watching, any movie news, anything like that, anything we want, really. This is our first podcast of 2025, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about A Complete Unknown, Flow, Sing Sing, Wicked, and the Oscar nominations. We'll also have a little tribute to David Lynch, so stick with us. Here we go. Let's get tucked into it. Our very first movie this week, we're going to talk about A Complete Unknown.
I'm completely unknown about what this film is.
Well, let me tell you, my friend, this film is about Bob Dylan in his early years. It stars Timothée Chalamet, Bing Blong, something like that his name is, I don't know. He's quite famous, the kids tell me, though, so, you know.
Chalamet.
He is the guy playing Bob Dylan. James Mangold directed it. We also have Elle Fanning playing his beau, his love, his better half, as people say. Sylvie Russo, which is, I think they changed the name of the person she's actually supposed to be. You had Edward Norton as Pete Seeger, same name, and Monica Barbaro as Joan Baez, amongst others. You and I were pretty much Bob Dylan fans. I definitely am. I think you are as well, as much as I remember.
Huge fan of Bob Dylan. Yeah.
Huge fans of Bob Dylan. So we were excited about this. It got released in the States, annoyingly, before it got released over here. But to be honest, probably wouldn't have had time to see it at Christmas anyway. So we got to see it last week. So James Mangold, he did as well Walk the Line. Do you remember the Johnny Cash biopic?
Excellent Walk the Line.
And that won a lot of Oscars, that I remember.
Yeah.
So this one, I believe, we'll get to it again later, as I said, but this one's up for a lot of Oscars as well. So he might be onto something here in doing this. What did you think of this movie, my friend?
Well, as you say, we're huge fans of Dylan, so we were really looking forward to this. And so I guess what I would prefix with our discussion here is that we would probably have loved it regardless.
Yeah.
Because we love the music. I'm a huge fan of Timothée Chalamet, so I kind of love his stuff anyway. Whereas others aren't so much, and, you know, so there's a little bit of a bias in the opinion, I think, probably. But I thought this was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Obvious to say the soundtrack was brilliant. All of Dylan's great hits were in there. And they performed them live. Timothée did them. They did a lot of it on set and stuff. And there's apparently loads and loads of recordings, which hopefully will come out on the Blu-ray or something, you know, and we'll get to see some of the stuff he did that's not made the cut. But yeah, pretty accurate telling of the story as far as you could be with Dylan. He's an enigmatic guy. His backstory, he's always tried to avoid it, as is alluded to in the film, where he's like, you make your own, you be who you want to be. You make your stuff up and discard what you don't want. And so, in some ways, the movie reflects that. Things are moved around, things are condensed. We mentioned Elle Fanning playing Sylvie Russo. That's actually Suze Rotolo, his first girlfriend. Dylan didn't want her name used. Who knows why, but who cares in reality? So, yes, there's things that are not quite right historically and stuff like that. But I felt it got the flavour.
The richness of it and the flavour.
Of what happened, correct. And I think that's the important thing. The story is a bit of a parable. It's kind of a folk tale about Bob Dylan, which is ideal for the folk singer Bob Dylan, who kind of did that in his music. So I thought that was really important. You know, there's things Woody Guthrie, Seeger and Dylan are in the same room in the hospital. And it's a really nice scene. I know we mentioned afterwards, like the three men, like it's like a diagonal line. Really great shot. Lovely moment. Did that happen? Who knows, right? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But for me, it's right for the movie. You know, it's like you don't have to be historically accurate because this is a creative interpretation, but it feels right for the story we're telling, you know.
You say you're looking for someone, never weak, but always strong.
Chalamet, I thought was great. But the performance was superb. It wasn't like an impression of Bob Dylan. It was very much him embodying the spirit of Bob Dylan. It was more about the mannerisms and the things he was doing rather than doing an impression. But I think through that, actually, it became really accurate about, okay, this is what I would expect Bob Dylan to be. And so he played out really great. Edward Norton as Pete Seeger, fantastic. Boyd Holbrook as Johnny Cash was a great little cameo throughout the film. That was really funny. Monica Barbaro, Joan Baez was superb, I thought. It's fantastic voice. Elle Fanning was brilliant. And even Dan Fogler as Albert Grossman was, you know, he gave you an uncomfortable feeling throughout, which is about right for a manager.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, the whole cast, superb. I think they really captured the characters they were playing well, everyone throughout, really. Countless scenes I really, really enjoyed. I think my personal favourite actually was the scene where he played the Masters of War for the first time, which was kind of creatively interpreted, but it was done on the backdrop of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Great scenes and the way it all played out. I love that song. It looked really nice. And probably also the scene where Sylvie leaves near the end, before he's about to go to the Newport Folk Festival. It's a really heartbreaking scene, really. There's not much dialogue going on. It's all a bit messy, but it's more about the way they're looking at each other, their expressions. It's quite powerful, some of the stuff they do. Ultimately, the two things I appreciated the most, I thought, the production design. I thought the sets and the costumes, they really went to town on making you think you're in the early 60s, making you think you're there in the moment. And also, they didn't really sanitize this story. Dylan was an arsehole.
He was an asshole.
Particularly back then. Well-intentioned at times, and they didn't hide away from that. They could have made him more of an arsehole, if we're honest.
And since you want an asshole, my not being an asshole makes me more of an asshole than the assholes that you normally date.
They did hide some stuff away, like didn't cover much of like the drugs and stuff. Although he's smoking marijuana and stuff, some of the other stuff they avoided, but you get why. But they didn't make this a goody two-shoe story and sanitize some of the stuff. It was like, no, this is how he was. But all in all, I thought it was a really fun film and really enjoyable and great all round.
I have to agree.
What did you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with pretty much most of the things you said there, if not all of it. Like you said, the production design was excellent. All of that recreating the streets of New York back in the 60s, down to the album cover, you know, freewheeling Bob Dylan with him and in the film Sylvie, which, as you said, was Susie. In real life. And as you said, in the film, it kind of hints towards him being a bit callous, a little bit self-obsessed, a little bit, you know, he courts all this fame and celebrity, but then he shuns it immediately as well, you know, but that was Dylan, as we know. And like you said, I think it captured the essence of that time and of the man very, very well. The music for me, again, was the main thing. You know, all the songs, the fact that they were performed by the artists was excellent. Joan Baez as well, just as much as, I mean, Timothy did an amazing job, but she was so good as Baez. And Pete Seeger, again, Edward Norton. I've never been a massive Edward Norton fan. I don't mind him. I think he's good, but I'm never really a sort of champ for Edward Norton. But after this, I was like, God damn, that was such a good performance as Seeger.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was no perfect, really. You really got that sort of Mr. Rogers-ness of him, you know. And
yeah, you know, and I love Seeger's music as well. You know, it is of that essence of that era, and I love it. And I do love Ed Norton, and I think he pulled it off brilliantly. And it's kind of different for him, different kind of character.
Definitely,
you know, so.
Perfect to see him do something like this as well. That's got a bit of gravitas. I remember when they were starting to film the picture, and you'd get paparazzi shots basically, or somebody sneaking shots on set of them filming, and that bit where Seeger's outside the courthouse straight away and gets his banjo out and singing. I remember photos from that and thinking, Edward Norton as Pete Seeger, okay, but watching it was like he was just perfect casting. Yeah. The whole Newport concert's brilliant, absolutely wonderful to see. The very first scene where Bob goes to see Woody Guthrie, as you said, whether that happened or not, but we know that Bob Dylan used to visit Woody Guthrie in hospital, so it really did a great job of that sort of introduction. You know, Pete sitting there with him late at night, and then this young sort of minstrel walks in with his guitar, and he plays the Ballad of Woody Guthrie to him. And I mean, I brought tears to my eyes when we watched that scene, actually, because, Woody Guthrie basically in his deathbed and stuff like that. I was thinking of my own father lying there in his deathbed, and the whole thing with music and everything. It really evoked a lot of emotion in me that I was like not expecting. And I was sitting there between you two, and there's tears welling in my eyes, and I was thinking, I hope these don't start streaming down my cheeks now, and either of you happen to notice, because you'd be like, are you all right, mate? Which I was. It was like a really nice kind of cathartic emotion, but it was there, and I thought, wow, this is the power of music, see, and the power of
exactly
this. If you've been ingrained in this kind of culture, as I have been throughout my life, it was very powerful. So yeah, absolutely loved it. I saw it again on Thursday locally at the other cinema down the road. A great second viewing. Again, really enjoyed the music. Elle Fanning, like you said, fantastic as well. Brought a very emotional and weighted performance to it. Wonderful, just wonderful. I hope it does do well at the Oscars. It might be a little bit white bread for some people, but it was still very, very well done. Very slick filmmaking. They didn't hang about too much. There was very little in there I thought that they could have trimmed the fat. There was one or two scenes I thought maybe you could live without this, but it's a very minor criticism. I thought overall that 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it moves quick.
It flies. Yeah. And I'm like 5-star from me as well. Absolutely wonderful.
It's a thumbs up.
Okay, the next movie on our list is Wicked. This is a film I don't know really very much about before I saw it, other than I knew it was a musical, and it was based on the Wizard of Oz stuff, so it kind of serves as some sort of prequel to it. Didn't really know what to expect other than that. You'd seen it before, so really, again, I should hand over to you and let you take us through this one, because you've seen the actual live show, right?
I have, yes. So,
does it measure up?
Does it measure up? So, Wicked. This is the film is the first part of the adaptation of a musical by Stephen Schwartz, which itself is an adaptation of a book by Gregory Maguire. The books are like a reimagining of The Land of Oz, and so it takes what were the original, very child-friendly books. And these are far more adults. They deal with political themes, violence, all kinds of, racism, things like this. It gets very in depth. And so the musical is an adaptation of that. And here we are, the film. I say it's the first part. It's split in two. This ends right at the kind of interval stage of the stage play. Now, one of my favourite movies ever is The Wizard of Oz. I love The Wizard of Oz. I love the world. Yeah, I love the world of Oz. I like the concept of it, and the visuals behind it. I've seen Wicked in the West End, and I fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. I thought it was great production. It was wonderful. I've watched many recordings and stuff since. I think it's a very powerful story. It's about power. It's about corruption. It's about a misfit. It's about how evil can be created from society around them and the pressures and stuff like this. There's a lot of powerful allegory stuff going on. And so I've been waiting for this from making the film for a long time. I was delighted when it was, and I've been waiting to go and see it. And I went to see it with my sister, who's also a big fan. Ultimately, I found it brilliant and really enjoyed it. Now, I will note, I know that some people would find this film a very Marmite film. It's going to depend on you enjoying musicals, and particularly kind of West End style musicals. There's certain things that it either works for you or it doesn't. I don't think it ever sits in the middle too much. And I think they did a really great job here of expanding the scale, mainly because you're on film, you can do a lot more, you've got a lot more budget. Expanding the scale, the world looked and felt much bigger. Obviously, lots more extras and CGI you can put into it, the whole world encompassing. So that was very nice. And also they did a lot of nods to the Wizard of Oz film in this, with like the font they used for the titles was the same as the Wizard of Oz. We saw a little glimpse of Dorothy and the Tin Man and Scarecrow line at the beginning, walking down the Abbey Road. So that was all very nice. I thought the performances were really great. Elphaba and Ariana Grande as Glinda, Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba. They were amazing. Their voices were incredible. But others in there were great as well. Peter Dinklage who makes an appearance. Michelle Yeoh plays the teacher in the school who was brilliant. Jonathan Bailey. But Jeff Goldblum as the wizard, I thought it was the role he was born to play. Deliciously evil, amazing delivery. And we all know Jeff Goldblum. We know what he's like, and it kind of fits perfectly into that little role. And, his delivery of the line, the best way to bring folks together is to give them a real good enemy. It's like, sums up the film and he really nails it. And it's very appropriate in this day and age, that kind of line. And of course, it ends with Defying Gravity as kind of the end number before we get to part 2, and it's an amazing set piece to finish off. However, I'm really looking forward to part 2 more than anything, because that's my favourite part of the play. It's darker. It's got my favourite song in it. It gets even more interesting. So it's a bit like Dune, really, where it's like, it's hard to judge it in it as a whole until we get to the meat and bones. Okay. What did you think, as someone who hasn't seen the play?
Oh, God, for me, it was a real struggle to get through. It was so long. And
it is long.
I mean, I didn't hate it, but I was having to stop myself, pick up my phone, and concentrate on it, stay with it. I mean, I'm familiar with The Wizard of Oz. I like the original Wizard of Oz. I grew up watching it. It was one of the very earliest films I remember watching, Loved the story of it. Loved Return to Oz. Remember that with Fairuza Balk in the 80s and that? That was brilliant.
That's creeped the hell out of me as a kid.
Yeah, the Wheelers had that effect on a lot of people. But this was kind of like, okay, I getting the vibes here that we're going back to the backstory of the Wicked Witch of the West and how she became the Wicked Witch of the West, in a sense. So it's another backstory. It's another sort of rewriting of it. And you've just explained it to me. All of that stuff you've just said, I didn't know it was a book. I knew it was a musical. I didn't know it came from something else. I think I agree with you. It's got a lot to say in the subtext. Absolutely. All of that stuff about corruption and about segregation and, the way that other people are viewed for whether it be a disability or the colour of your skin and all that stuff is obviously in there. But it's done in this very sort of candy pop, almost Harry Potter world where they're all in this like university for learning how to be magical and stuff. You said you got Peter Dinklage as the goat teaching them how to do this, that and the other, and Michelle Yeoh as the kind of, dean of the university. She was very good, actually. To see Michelle Yeoh and Peter Dinklage singing this is a treat in itself. But I think for me, the visual style was so in your face. Absolutely, you can't fault it. There was no ropiness to it. It was top level CGI and extras, costumes, set designs. Mise en scene was absolutely, all there. It was a full package, but for me it was a bit so much. I was just like, oh my God, there's too much to look at in some ways. And the worst problem I had with it is the music. For me, the music is so American, so mawkish. Everything's got that sort of, really, I don't know, it's like it's all in a major key. It's all kind of, it was, I couldn't get with it. It was starting to grate on me a bit towards the end. And there's so much of it. There's like a little bit of dialogue. Now we're into the next song. A little bit of dialogue. Now the next song. So, I mean, I didn't turn it off. I can say that. I stuck with it, but I'm glad I didn't get exposed to it in the cinema, for nearly 3 hours of, it would have been a bit too much for me, a bit too much overload. So, Yeah, what else can I say? I mean, it was...
And I totally get it as well. I think there is like, if you don't like that kind of, you say kind of like major key, theatrical, music, it's just not, it's hard, just some people don't like that, and it's like, there's not, you can't get around it.
They were great. Ariana Grande, Cynthia Erivo. Absolutely brilliant. Great singing. Great performances. But, I was sitting there watching it on my own thinking, I'd probably be enjoying this more if there was a couple of kids, my sister's kids with me or something like that, where they're getting a lot from it. And you enjoy it more vicariously through them, and you think, but just sitting on my own as a middle-aged man watching it was a bit like, kill me now, God, kill me now. But there we go, like you said, swings and roundabouts. I can appreciate it for what it was. Very, very, very top-class production, but, oh, God, I don't look forward to part 2 as much as you do.
Yeah, it's as I say, that's why I think it is very Marmite. I think it is one of them. It's like some people are going to like this, and then some people are just not going to get it.
People like yourself who've enjoyed it on the stage, and no doubt they should enjoy it. There's nothing to fault in it in that sense. It's just whether you enjoy that sort of thing or not. I think if you do, it's a top class version. Like said, Jeff Goldblum turned up. That was a surprise for me. I didn't know he was in it. So when he's revealed he's the wizard, I was like, "Hey, Jeff Goldblum!"
Yeah, it's Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. But oh god, yeah, all right, fair enough. So the next film on our list is Sing Sing. No, it's not about singing. It's not a musical. This one.
Oh, have I watched the wrong film? I watched like an animated film about mice singing.
I think you might have watched Sing Song. This is about prisoners in the famous prison Sing Sing in America. They are all part of a theatre program, which is obviously, supposed to help them kind of, develop new skills and all of that good stuff that they have. These prison programs that aim to help people who've been in prison a long time, have something very positive to be part of, is the basic tack of these things, isn't it? This is based on a true story as well. All actually happened. In fact, a lot of the actors in the film were the people from the original story. They came back and starred in the film as themselves, which was incredible to see. Obviously, Colman Domingo is the main star. He was not in prison and did all this. He's just a fantastic actor who plays the main role. It was directed by Greg Quedar, and it also stars Clarence Macklin. So basically, quick summary of the story is there's an already established theatre production company thing inside the prison, like the prison theatre, and they put on a show each year for the prison, and they could do all sorts of material, whether it be Shakespeare or whatever. So when we catch up with them, the consensus is they want to do some sort of comedy. They've brought somebody in as well, somebody new has sort of joined the group. But the person who's joined them, played by Clarence Macklin, is kind of a wide boy, isn't he? He's still a little bit dodgy. He's doing dodgy things in the prison. It's kind of ambiguous as to whether he's really being part of it because he wants to be, or whether it's because he's trying to win some favor. But really, in the process of that, it becomes, he becomes very into it and affected by it, not without some sort of friction and everything that happens, especially between him and Colman Domingo's character. But therein lies the drama, and they become quite solid friends by the end. I like prison movies as a rule. All types of prison movies. There's silly ones like Death Warrant with Van Damme, where, there's going to be a lot of chop socky and crazy things going on. There's very famous ones like Shawshank Redemption, which everybody knows and loves. It's a whole genre in itself. I really do enjoy a good prison movie. I don't know what it is. It's a little bit of a strange subject to enjoy, but I suppose if people can enjoy war movies and stuff like this, why can't they enjoy prison movies? And this definitely is a unique offering within this sort of subgenre of film, because this isn't for once about a crooked warden or an escape attempt, escape from Alcatraz, something like that. This is about real people doing very real things, and how their lives are affected by their connection with art and performance and each other in a lot of ways. all men, of course, are all in it's a men's prison, so they're kind of cut off from any women or any of that kind of influence on it. So that in itself, I imagine, is very challenging. I first heard about this film. Colman Domingo was on Graham Norton, and he was talking about this film. It was the same week Timothée Chalamet was on and stuff, and he was actually promoting the film then, and that's when it came up on my radar, and I thought, oh, that looks really interesting. Then we got hold of it. I said to you about it, so we've got to see this one. Just blown away by it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Colman Domingo was amazing in it, but Clarence Macklin, his character, oh God, I was just stunned by his acting, absolutely stunned by it, the way that he portrayed that kind of change. His character had the most change, you see, because Colman Domingo's character is already in this, he's already the champ, isn't he? He's the leader of the pack. He's very good.
He's a wise man.
He is, and he's very good at directing them or interpreting certain ideas that some of them might not be able to articulate very well. He's already respected by the rest of the troop highly, but when this guy comes in, it's kind of like a challenge to his crown in a way, because this guy sort of contradicts him and says we should do a comedy and we should do this, and he's kind of, Coleman's cool with it. He's like, okay, we'll do what we can, but this guy sort of becomes a bit of an issue for him. But therein, like I say, they become, very tight as friends, but not without a lot of drama going on in between. And I just thought it was stunning, absolutely engrossed in it for, hour and 47 minutes of just pure, perfect American drama with some fantastic performances. All the people who played themselves, including the guy who plays the, he's brought in by the prison to be their theatre director kind of guy. He was fantastic as well. I mean, everyone in it. And the music was great, in the background and stuff. That everything about this film I thought was just quality, and I would advise anyone I know to see it. It's one of those, don't bother with this, that, and the other. Go see Sing Sing,
Go see Sing Sing. It is. I mean, as you say, it's not a typical prison movie, as you say, because it's not about violence and the normal shenanigans, as you say. And that's what's really refreshing about it. You're kind of like, oh, this is like not what I thought it was going to be. Of course, there's kind of bits of it which are like, as you say, the tough, the out and out tough each other in some ways, but it's not really about that. And you don't like, oh, now it's a big riot time, the alarms go off or something,
like at the end of Brute Force.
Yeah. I still need to watch Brute Force, so want to see that. But yeah, as you say, based on a real thing, rehabilitation through the arts, the RTA program. I was reading up about it afterwards. It's amazing, really. Compared to the average national recidivism rate of over 60%, those who participate in this program, it goes down to less than 3%, which shows it works.
Yeah.
Which is really, really cool to see. As you say, Colman Domingo's performance, it is brilliant. It's really nuanced. He's the calm, wise man of the prisoners. And just every small moment of him as he gristles his face as he's writing and things like this, it's just so, you're there with him, and that's great. The whole crew of lads are brilliant. And I didn't realise until afterwards that, they are playing themselves out. This is so cool.
Most of them are, yeah.
Most of them. And it's like, and they're really good. It's like, they're not crap at what they're doing. It's like, no, they can actually act. This is really great. Actually, Clarence Macklin, superb. Him and Coleman's kind of bouncing off each other. It's just really magnetic to watch, even down to the small scenes where they're talking, looking out that little square window thing out, and they're kind of debating things with each other. And the dynamic obviously switches round throughout the film, where Coleman's the kind of strong one at a point, but later on he does lose his plot a bit. But now suddenly, Clarence's character has kind of grown up a bit now, and now he's trying to be, oh, come on, man, kind of thing. It's like really nice to see a lovely kind of arc throughout the film.
Their friendship reminded me of Shawshank Redemption in a lot of ways. That Andy Dufresne and Red, the Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman characters. There was the bit where, where they're sitting by the wall in Sing Sing. That reminded me of the scene in Shawshank where he's like, it comes down to a simple choice: get busy living or get busy dying. Where they have that sort of out, and then of course the ending was just it wasn't like a copy of it, but it was just giving me those vibes. I was like, this is very much a nice positive ending, because you don't often get that with a prison film either.
No. And also, because the way they've done that throughout the film, that final scene, it's very emotional.
It is, man.
Yes, they got there, and so I really loved that. It did get me at the end. I was like, yes. Paul Raci as the coordinator they bring in, it is brilliant. He's strange in a way, but it works so well. It's like, I can imagine that guy coming in to do this kind of group sessions with them.
I like the way he challenges Clarence Macklin in it as well. The way that the others are trying to soften what he says to him, because he's obviously, if you say anything to him, he's got so much sort of toughness and a front that if you say the wrong thing to him, he's going to kick off and bugger off for the session. And
short fuse,
But I love the way he challenges him with that and makes him sort of really get into it for the right reasons.
But he kind of respects it, doesn't he?
Oh, he does in the end, At first he's like, this mother. But then by the end, he's just like, they all, there's a lot of love going on.
There is. I mean, it's done really well. Like, the film's shot on 16mm, cinematographer Pat Scola. It's really nice because it's a taller frame and it's got a kind of grain to it. And the film's very light, which is unlike prison films, really, which are usually quite cold, quite grey. They go for that grisly look. This is very light and warm, and they used natural light, location light, because they shot it in old prisons, which is obviously the ideal way to do this.
Yeah.
So they just let the light come through the windows. And so you get this very natural look to the whole thing. And I thought it's kind of perfect. You've got the guys who actually did this playing themselves, who are used to the surroundings they're going to be in decommissioned prisons. And then you're letting all the light come in, and then you're using small cameras, fast light lenses, using natural light, and they do like the handheld stuff, and they're getting in there. And it's such a kind of documentary feel to it. It just plays off so well. It's very natural, and you feel like you're in there with them. I'm in the room listening to these guys debating how to do a soliloquy.
Yeah.
The whole Hamlet stuff I loved.
Yeah.
The different ways they were approaching it again and again and again. Do it again. Do it again. It was really, really well done, because I think that approach really made it distinct from other prison films, made it like it almost like a docudrama in a way, but in a really highly polished one. The most powerful thing though is Mike. Who was such a lovely character.
That was a tough scene, man. That was a tough
really
scene.
Tough. I loved the fact that early on when they're talking about what's your happy place, and his whole thing was, I don't have a happy place on the outside. My happy place is in this room with you guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's really heartbreaking. And then he's such an upbeat character, such a positive character, always the one with a smile and a laugh. And he's having that really heartfelt conversation with Domingo's character.
Yeah.
Through the walls, talking about things, but then you're there in the prison, and he passes away. But it's not through gang violence, it's not through drugs, it's not through suicide or any of these things that you usually relate to it. It's like the guy has a brain aneurysm. Yeah. And as you go back into that room, and they play it so well, you're looking at their faces, you are just heartbroken.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's powerful cinema.
It
That's how
was.
you do it.
I mean, when Colman Domingo comes out of his cell and he just looks into his friend's cell, and they're just treating his whole life, all the stuff on the walls and his possessions, just like throwing it in boxes and stuff. And it was just this like disposable kind of like, well, that was like so powerful. Yeah. So powerful. You don't need any dialogue there. It was all in the expressions, all in the eyes. And wonderful. A wonderful, wonderful film. I hope it has done well in the nominations. We shall find out when we go into it in a little bit. But for me, that was like one of the best films I've seen in recent times. Fantastic. Double thumbs up. Definitely see it.
Go watch it.
Right. Last movie on our list this week is Flow, which is a Latvian animated film, no dialogue. It was directed by someone called, let's see if I can pronounce this, Gints Zilbalodos. Maybe something like that. Zilbalodos.
Sounds about right.
It's about right. As I say, Latvian film. It's about a cat who suddenly finds itself in the middle of a biblical flood. Huge flood, really massive flood, not just one that, the road is out. I mean, this is like hundreds of feet of water. And the long and short of it is, this little cat, if he or she, I don't know, he finds itself on a boat with like a capoeira and a big, massive white bird and a dog. And, getting homeward bound vibes here. Remember that one?
Homeward bound, yes.
But, basically it's about them all working together to survive, really, and to get, out of the floods, in a sense. That's the basic thing to it. The impressive thing about this film is that, like I say, there's no dialogue whatsoever. So while I was watching this, I was thinking, if you played this for children of all nations, every single one of them would understand it on the same level, because does not rely on dialogue whatsoever. But you can fully understand everything that's going on. And I loved it for that reason more than anything else, this kind of universal element to it. Pretty nice animation, the way it was done. It looked beautiful. There was a lot of good stuff going on with it. I'd seen a lot of people talking about it online, which was what brought it up on my radar initially. And, you run away, you watch a trailer quickly. What's this thing? And I kind of like cats quite a lot. So to see this cat movie, I was like, I want to see what this is about. Watched the trailer and thought, right, that we've got to see that. It's fantastic. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it had a lot to say. Of course, again, the subtext there, not just about the world and the environment and how we view animals and stuff, but also about friendship, about our differences, and how that, if we work together to the same ends, despite our differences, we can really, overcome great challenges in life. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I agree. I mean, it's the modern Noah's Ark, right? Mm. But yeah, it's interesting. It visually reminded me of a video game. Yeah. The way it's done. It's an interesting. The film was completely made on this open source software called Blender, which some people may know. It's very famous. And so it's like a real kind of indie effort here, which obviously affects its visual style. It's a bit rougher on the edges and stuff like
here
this.
And there. Yeah. The textures were.
Yeah, but in a way, isn't it? That's what made it beautiful.
Yeah.
That kind of, it's like painting, it's like, oh, this is really different. It's not like that polished Hollywood CGI'd animation. So you're kind of like, this is really nice.
Yeah.
So people have called it a silent movie, in a way. They say no dialogue. But actually there is dialogue. Right? Okay. It's just one that we can't understand.
Oh, very good.
The animals dialogue that, Yeah. I found it really interesting reading afterwards. They used actual animal sounds for all the animals. They went out and recorded proper animal sounds, apart from the capybara, which apparently it's too high pitched and unpleasant, so they ended up using the baby camel instead for that one.
That is a great bit of trivia there, Dave.
Yeah, what I found with that is the soundscape they created with the water and the animal sounds and the trees and all this going on throughout the film more than anything was mesmerizing. You kind of think, oh, if there's no dialogue, what's going on? It's going to be a bit boring, isn't it? But actually, then you're just mesmerized by this kind of even like the glass bottles being moved around by the whatever you call it, monkey thing.
Yeah.
It's fascinating in your head, those little movements and moments, and you're just like, oh. It's an emotional journey about friendship, as you say, and we've seen that 1,000 times before, but they do a really great job of it. You just say we don't understand what they're saying to things, but those little interactions they have towards each other, where they're helping each other out, whether they intend to or not. And I think this was the interesting bit, because it's all done very realistic for the animals. This isn't like a Pixar movie or something where it's like they're humanized versions of animals.
It's not Finding Nemo.
No, it's like this is how animals behave on the most part. And so a lot of the things they're doing, some of it's unintentional, but you kind of go, oh, look, they're helping each other out. And it's like, well, they didn't really intend to, but consequently that's what's happened or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there is bonds there you can see between them where they're like, okay, I trust you, you can help doing that or whatever.
Trust.
But also there's
a massive theme in it. Trust is a big one.
It's a big theme. But also I think there's a real theme of realism in there. And I think even that goes to the end where like the dogs are all there and you think, oh, they're all helping to save the day. they see a rabbit
and they all run
suddenly
off. Yeah.
And you're like, of course, they may try and help, but the natural instinct
Nature,
of these
they
animals
can't go against their nature. Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed that about it. It was really nice. It was really pleasant to see the animals and all that kind of stuff. But I also appreciated the realistic undertone of, this is nature, it's not nice, this is what happens, and all that kind of bits. So I was like, it's really interesting touch to it. And of course, the undercurrent there about global warming and the problem with the planet and the floods and all that kind of stuff, which seeps throughout it, and you kind of visualize the destruction of that kind of thing through their eyes as they go through an abandoned city and things like that.
No humans whatsoever in the films.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good. I mean, there's the marks of humans, like all of those sculptures of the cats and stuff like this. It's like there's this evidence of humanity is there, but other than that, zero humans whatsoever. It's just the wild animals. Well, wild and domesticated, because obviously you got the cat, you got the dog, who's very sort of, I want to play, I'm friendly, I want to be your friend, typical dog sort of thing. But it was a powerful film, and one that was really nice to watch in the sense that it was an animated film, and it doesn't have any dialogue other than like you mentioned, the animals talking to each other. But that's quite unique. It's a very unique film. I didn't realize it was done on Blender. That's crazy.
It's mad.
But they did an excellent job. All that being considered, there's bits when the cat falls into the water and it's sort of going up and up into the water and above it again, and that was animation wise. That was very, very well done. Yeah, none of it looked ropey. Yeah. It was very impressive, and
all the reflection stuff looked really great. That they were doing, like in the puddles and in the mirrors and stuff.
That was a very a big theme for them as well, because like you said, the little thing has the mirror all the time. Is obsessed with, even with his little buddies, they're all looking in it. But again, like you said, the cat had plenty of times looking into the water and seeing that reflection. So there's obviously a lot to be said about that sort of side of things and how you view yourself and the rest of it. It was a very interesting film. As I say, if you could played it to kids of all languages and walks of life, they would all get it. But also fantastic film for adults as well. It's not a children's film. It's a universal film suitable for all, so to speak. So, I would highly recommend seeing it. I'm sure it's been nominated for some Oscars. But let's find out all about that after a quick word from our sponsor. More Movies Podcast is sponsored by funkyt-shirts.co.uk, a t-shirt design brand shipping internationally. Check out their extensive and ever-increasing catalogue of cool t-shirt designs that includes collections such as film and TV, retro comics, funny designs, and spooky t-shirts. All products are produced and shipped from locations as close as possible to the buyer's address to avoid extensive and unnecessary shipping costs, and all t-shirts are made in an environmentally friendly process. Keep it funky and order your t-shirts today. So, yes, as we mentioned, it is Oscars season. All of the awards have already started. We've had the Golden Globes. We've still got the BAFTAs to come. There's been one or two of the other sort of smaller ones been going on. And obviously it all leads up to the big one, which is the Academy Awards. 97th Academy Awards this year. Obviously, it's been a bit of a shaky few years for the Academy Awards, what with COVID and everything, and they had to do different things. But I felt in the last year or two, they've kind of brought it back to where it used to be, especially last year. Last year's was back in the auditorium and a bit more like...
Might be a difficult year again this year, though, with all the wildfires over in Los Angeles and stuff.
I didn't even think of that, but you're absolutely right. It just might be. So, we usually go through the categories. The big main categories we'll go through are actor and actress in supporting roles, actor and actress in leading roles. We'll see who's up for Best Director and the Best Picture, and anything else we choose to sort of mention maybe along the way. But let's start off with actor in a supporting role.
So, actor in a supporting role. We've got Yura Borisov, who plays Igor in Anora.
Haven't seen that yet. Really want to see it, though. A24, Mikey Madison, supposed to be an excellent film. Looking forward to seeing it. It's on the list.
It's on the list to watch. We've got Kieran Culkin, McCulkin's brother. A Real Pain.
That's the one with Jesse Eisenberg as well, is it?
It is, yeah. And he plays Benji Kaplan. We got Edward Norton, who we mentioned earlier in Complete Unknown, as Pete Seeger.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
We've seen that one. We've got Guy Pearce in The Brutalist as Harrison Lee Van Buren Sr. And we've got Jeremy Strong in The Apprentice as Roy Cohn, which we talked about in our previous podcast. You can see a link in the description below to he was talking about that one.
Yeah. We both noted that he was excellent in that film, which he was.
He was indeed.
Brutalist, yeah, haven't seen it yet. Looks very good, though. Only really learning about it in the last couple of weeks, to be honest. But I like Adrian Brody. Guy Pearce has always been excellent, so I'm looking forward to that one. The Real Pain, haven't seen that either yet, but I'll probably get around to it at some point. It wasn't one that I thought, oh yes, I must see it, but I thought, well, I probably will watch it at some point, just to see what the crack is. You know,
I fancied it from the trailer. I thought it looked interesting, but Kim Gorman's got a lot of praise in recent years, especially for his role on television.
Succession, I liked him in it. He was good in it. But, you know, if he's playing the same sort of character, it might just get a little bit... Well, we'll see. I'll reserve judgment until I've seen it. So, actress in a supporting role. Who have we got there?
In actress in a supporting role, we've got Monica Barbaro as Joan Baez in A Complete Unknown, who we just talked about.
Wonderful.
We've got Ariana Grande as Glinda in Wicked, which we've just talked about as well.
Galinda.
Galinda.
Okay?
Becomes Glinda. She loses the A.
No, I was just doing that scene, you know, when she's...
Galinda.
Yeah. You got it.
We've got Felicity Jones from The Brutalist as Elizabeth Toth, I think that's it.
Have you seen her in much since Rogue One? I haven't seen her in much. I know she's done stuff.
I haven't.
And I like her as an actress, but I noticed she was in this and I thought, well, I haven't really watched you in anything since Rogue One.
No. But we need to really see the. I can't, because it's been hyped up a lot. The Brutalist. It's won Golden Globe.
Oh, it's supposed to be wonderful. Yeah,
and it's supposed to be wonderful. So
can't wait to
watch it.
We'll get to
it. We've got Isabella Rossellini, who plays Sister Agnes in Conclave. We talked about this in our last episode as well.
Yeah,
link in the description. Wonderful performance and a really interesting film.
Yeah. First time she's ever been nominated for an Academy Award. Can you believe it?
That's mad, isn't it?
It is mad to think about, but there we go.
Zoe Saldana, who plays Rita Mora Castro in Emilia Perez, which is the kind of a film that's been talked about a lot online because of its subject matter.
Yeah.
And it's been nominated. It's kind of split. It's been divisive.
It has.
But I'm very interested to check it out to see.
Yeah, because of that.
What? Yeah, because there's people really shitting on it.
Yeah,
right?
I noticed.
And you're kind of like, now, is it because it is, or is it because of a politically motivated reason here? You know? And so, and it's hard to say what without checking it out, right?
Exactly.
So I can't wait
Hold
to find
judgment
out.
on that, but we'll be watching it.
Yeah.
Judgment reflected in its relatively poor showing at the box office.
Okay, so we got best supporting actress and best supporting actor there.
Yeah.
What do we reckon for each one?
I'm going to go with because I haven't seen a lot of them yet, but I'm going to go with Edward Norton for best supporting actor because obviously we just talked about A Complete Unknown. Really loved him as Pete Seeger, so I'll give him my vote for this one as it stands.
I think at the moment I'm going to go with Jeremy Strong.
Good choice as well. Good choice.
In The Apprentice
as Roy Cohn.
But it's a hard one because we haven't seen 3 of them films yet.
Yes, exactly as it stands, isn't it? Really.
Of course, at the Golden Globes earlier this month, Kieran Culkin won that one.
He did.
And for best supporting actress.
Oh, I will go with Isabella Rossellini in Conclave, just because, as I mentioned, she's not had a nomination yet. As much as I love Monica Barbaro, and I did, and I think she should probably get it, but I'll go with Isabella on this one, just because.
Do you know what? I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with Isabella.
In that case, I'm changing. I'm going back to Monica Barbaro as Joan Baez. We can't have the same one. If you're going to choose her. because she was brilliant as Joan Baez. Her singing voice alone is worth it.
It was amazing. Zoe Saldana, of course, won the Golden Globe for this. As Amelia Perez.
Interesting.
Very interesting indeed.
All right, then, let's move on. Let's go to what we're going to do first. Actress in the leading role?
Yeah, actress in the leading role. We've got Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba in Wicked. Okay. We got Carla Sofia Gascon as Amelia Perez in Amelia Perez. We got Mikey Madison, Mikey Madison as Honora in Honora. We've got Demi Moore for The Substance.
Oh, yeah.
And we got Fernanda Torres for I'm Still Here. Which is
I'm Still Here is another one we haven't got round to yet. Amelia Perez, we just mentioned we haven't seen that yet either, or Honora, but we want to see both of them. The Substance we talked about last time. I was raving about Demi Moore's performance in our discussion about it. I thought she was fantastic. And we just talked about Wicked. So who do you like in there?
I'm fancying Demi Moore at the moment.
Me too. We are going to go on the same one on that because she was phenomenal. If she doesn't win the Oscar, we riot.
We riot. She won the Golden Globe, so
she did, signs. And I was so pleased to see it. She was just so good in it. Absolutely brilliant performance.
It's excellent film and excellent performance. I agree. Best actor, let's look into that. Adrian Brody in The Brutalist as Laszlo Toth.
Yeah. He's won before. He won for The Pianist. So
he did
years ago. He's an Oscar winner.
We've got Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan, completely unknown. Mm-hmm. Chalamet Dong, as we just talked about. This would be his first one if he won.
So good to see Colman Domingo on this list.
As John Divine G. Whitfield in Sing Sing, which we just talked about. Then we've got Ralph Fiennes as Cardinal Thomas Lawrence in Conclave. So he's up there. We talked about Conclave in the last episode. Fantastic performance. Ralph Fiennes is always fantastic.
Watch him in anything.
And then Sebastian Stan for Donald Trump in The Apprentice.
Yeah, we talked about that in our last podcast as well. As we mentioned just before, we talked about Jeremy Strong. So if you want to know our thoughts on Sebastian Stan's performance as Donald Trump, then go and check out that podcast.
Fuck Donald Trump.
So who do you reckon then?
I'm going to give I love Timothée Chalamet and I love that film and he'll probably win, but my vote's going with Colman Domingo for Sing Sing just because that was the one, the underdog in this collection, I think. And I thought it was very much worthy of an Oscar and I'd love to see him win it.
I would love to see Colman win it. I think that's actually probably the strongest performance out of them that I've seen so far. But I'm gonna fly the flag for Timothée, as I love him so much. So I'll go with that. I mean, interestingly, obviously they split it out in the Golden Globes because you have like actor for drama and actor for musical or comedy, so it's kind of slightly different.
Yeah.
But Adrian Brody won for The Brutalist for the drama, and Sebastian Stan won for A Different Man.
Wow.
In the other category. Now, obviously, Different Man isn't up in there, but obviously The Apprentice is. So it'd be interesting to see who's going to lead this one.
Yeah. I was going to say we did talk about A Different Man in our last podcast as well, so there's another one that... if you wanted to see our thoughts on that and Sebastian Stan's performance in it, is there in episode 67. Okay. All right, then there's our picks for that as well. So I was going to say, let's have a quick look at the animated feature film category because Flow is actually nominated in there, which we've just been talking about. And we've also got, there's Inside Out 2. Don't know much about that. Memoir of a Snail. Sounds interesting. Don't know about it though. Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul. Now I watched this twice at Christmas. Aardman animation, a really great sequel for Wallace and Gromit. Have you seen it yet?
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
Mate,
but,
you are in for a big treat. Fan of Wallace and Gromit, in for a treat. Feathers McGraw is back, causing chaos. Peter Kay does the voice of the chief of police.
Really?
Oh, mate, you've got to see it. It's possibly my favourite of all the Wallace and Gromit so far.
Wow.
And, they've all been great. The last one that they did, like Curse of the Werewolf, and it wasn't.
Yes.
But they brought Feathers McGraw back for this one, and it's hilarious. I
Brilliant.
Thought it was unbelievably good. And then you've got The Wild Robot as well, which I don't know about, so we're going to have to find out about that one. But what do you reckon in that category? You think Flo will have a chance?
I think so. It's been really highly touted this year. It's also up for Best International Feature Film as well.
Wow.
So it's been really kind of highly praised.
So it's got a double chance of winning
double
something.
chance. And, it's been really kind of going around the circuit. People going, go watch this film. So I think the critical momentum is behind it.
Yeah.
It'd be really nice to see, I think.
It would be nice to see it get some attention, so it pops up on more people's radar and they go and see it,
We have to see this movie, dude.
Okay, next category. Let's move on to directing. Let's see what we got.
Best director, yes. Okay, so we've got Sean Baker is up for Anora. We got Brady Corbet, I think that is, for The Brutalist. And we got James Mangold is up for Complete Unknown, which we've just talked about. We got Jack Audiard, I think that is.
Yeah.
Jacques
Audiard.
Jack Audiard. Amelia Perez, which we talked about, we haven't seen yet. Mm-hmm. And Coralie
Farget
for The Substance, which we talked about in the last podcast we mentioned just earlier.
So just one woman up for
just one female this time. That's but it has been a bit of a quiet year for female directors.
Maybe they're all in production still at the moment.
Possibly. That's the problem with the cycle, isn't it?
I don't know. But I'm tempted to go with her, Coralie Farget, for The Substance, because as much as I love James Mangold and A Complete Unknown, once again, I'll say it again, I just thought that The Substance was something else this year. It was just something else.
Yeah, I think it's hard to guess this because, as to say, again, we've got like 3 films here, which are really highly rated, going around, people talking at the moment.
Yeah,
that I'm desperate to see, and that may change my decision on this.
Absolutely,
but with what's in front of us, yes, I think The Substance is the most unique film I've seen in the last 12 months, possibly, and it was really brave. Production and direction and what they did and the story they told, and I'm all for that. So I'm going for Coralie.
Okay, so that's 2 votes for Coralie Farget, and obviously a tip of the cap to James Mangold. And yes, we've got to go back and see the other films. We're seeing a lot of Anora in these. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of Complete Unknown. We're seeing a lot of The Brutalist. We are also seeing a lot of Amelia Perez. So those 4 in particular seem to be, getting a lot of nominations this year.
Yeah, they're the kind of, I think, the strong runners of the ones this year.
Well, that brings us on to Best Picture then. Let's have a look what's in the list.
Best Picture, okay, we've got 10 films. So Anora comes up again.
Yeah.
And The Brutalist.
Yep.
I Complete Unknown, which we've just been talking about.
Absolutely.
We've got Conclave, which again we talked about in the last podcast. We've got Dune Part 2,
which we talked about a couple of podcasts ago. We'll put a link again in the description.
Denis Villeneuve, of course.
One of the best modern sci-fis I've ever seen.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Excellent film. Amazing production. Amelia Perez turns up again. And I'm Still Here. Then a film which hasn't appeared anywhere else yet, Nickel Boys.
Yeah, again, I heard about this a couple of weeks ago. It looks good. I had a little look into it. I don't know much more about it, but it's one we need to see at some point, I imagine.
Yeah. Then we've got The Substance again. And we've got Wicked. As you say, this is a really interesting list, right? Because you've got a big sci-fi film in there that they don't really usually get nods. Nope. You've got a big musical in there. you've got musical biopic in terms of Complete Unknown, a couple of international non-English films in here. This Emilia Perez, which obviously is a very causing stir, as we say. So it's a real interesting eclectic mix. There's nothing where you go that stands out completely from the rest of the pack.
No, it's hard to judge. Hard to judge which one's going to get it.
Now, in the Golden Globes, obviously, again, that's split into two. You got drama and then you got musical comedy. The Brutalist won the drama and was doing very well at the awards. Musical comedy, Emilia Perez won. Different nominations in there. But, I don't know at the moment. It's hard to judge. I think from what I've seen so far, if I was to pick out
5, we've seen 5. I think
we've seen 5
of the 10.
And I was to go, what's the best picture at the Oscars for me? I would have to go to Substance so far.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. That for the reason we've already stated, it's such an amazingly powerful and challenging film. But I think out of the ones I've seen so far, anyway, I think what's more likely to get it is A Complete Unknown. To be honest,
I'm not sure. I'm not sold on that. If I'm honest.
No, that's cool. That's the fun part that we get to find out. I mean, it might be The Brutalist. I mean, that's really is coming out.
Yeah, that's the one that's picking up lots of awards.
I don't think it'll be Wicked, to be honest with you. No. I don't see Anora getting it, even though I haven't seen it yet. I think it's possibly a little bit too fringe and indie to be going up against the likes of the Brutalist and Dune and stuff like that. So you never know what's going to happen at the Oscars. I mean, that's the thing as well. But I'm going to put my money on A Complete Unknown at the moment, and you'll give me the Substance. So there we go.
There we go. I mean, there's lots of some of these films are obviously got lots of kind of more like production awards up for, things like Wicked and A Complete Unknown, costume design there, and you can see, I'm sure, Dune and visual effects, for example.
Gladiator 2 is up for an award for costume design. We talked about that in our last podcast.
Yes. No chance. Better Man, it's just the Robin Williams biopic is up for special effects. That's quite funny. I mean, I'm surprised that...
look at film editing again. Anora, Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez, Wicked.
Same ones, yeah.
Same old ones.
I'm surprised in costume design that A Different Man, which we covered in our last episode, hasn't appeared.
No.
Because it did some really great prosthetic work in that with obviously the face issues.
Yeah.
And so I'm surprised that hasn't come up.
Here's a category for you. The Academy Award
for... Oh, sorry, it's up for makeup and hairstyling, so that's why. There we go. It appears.
Well, I was going to say, the Academy Award for Sound, what we've got in that category, A Complete Unknown, which you'd expect with all the music.
Yeah.
Dune Part 2, again, a great soundscape with the sci-fi elements. Emilia Perez, okay, we haven't seen. The Wild Robot, which I don't know about. But Wicked is in there, and that's one thing I could say about Wicked, was the sound design was absolutely tip-top phenomenal. There's the one thing I did notice about it, and I thought the sound design here is incredible. They really had a great team on that. So I know we're not really going to go through all the categories or anything, but just because we've just talked about that film, I'd say Wicked is a very, very strong contender to get the Oscar for that particular category.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think, it's those kind of things where you're going to see, I think some of them other films which are up for Best Picture will pick up around the place. I don't think there's going to be a film this year that takes up 6-7 awards on its own. I just don't think that's going to happen this year. It's too much of a mixed bag. I thought one interesting one, though, at the Golden Globes, this September 5 was nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
And the only nomination I noticed it getting for in the Oscars, I think, was for writing.
Yeah, it's in original screenplay.
Original screenplay, which I found quite interesting that, it was so high up in the Golden Globes and in the Oscars it's missed out on. And apart from that, it does look really good. I saw the trailer for it the other week and was like, this looks really interesting.
I also noticed here Sing Sing hasn't had many nominations, but it does have another one for writing adapted screenplay. It's up for that, so I'd really like to see it get that, to be honest.
Yes, that would be nice. Well, there we go. It's coming up in a few months' time.
It sure is, my friend. We will see what we will see.
It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really exciting. We'll know a bit more and probably change our predictions as we watch some more of these films.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll see what happens on the night. It's always exciting.
I'd like to see a few more of these films before the Oscars in terms of us getting some stuff out about them, the likes of The Brutalist, Nora, Amelia Perez, as we noted. Sorry, so plenty still to watch. There's a lot on our list, so yeah. What do you think? What do you think is going to win in these categories? Who was your favourite supporting actress or best actor in a leading role, or who's the best director? You let us know your picks in the comments. We'd love to hear other people's opinions on these sort of things. You might have seen some of the films we haven't seen. If you think they're worth watching, let us know. If you think we should avoid them, please let us know as well. It'd be wonderful to hear your thoughts. That's what the comment section's for. So get stuck in, get involved. Let's have it. One thing I'd just like to talk about to end this podcast is that we've lost one of the greats. We lost David Lynch just a week or so ago. For me personally, one of my favourite directors of all time. Probably really started to get into David Lynch's stuff through television, funnily enough, because I was a young teenager when Twin Peaks was very big over here. I was probably a little bit too young to appreciate it fully then, but I used to like it and watch it anyway because you'd go to school the next day and everybody would be talking about it. It was so singular and so bizarre. It was the talk of the town. And as David Lynch himself used to say, Twin Peaks people are party people. And we all certainly felt like that at the time. And of course, then his great movies. You and I have spent many a night talking about Mulholland Drive and what a genius masterpiece it is. You got stuff like The Elephant Man, one of my favorite films of all time. Anthony Hopkins, John Hurt, absolutely amazing film. Filmed in London as well. He did it all over here with Mel Brooks producing. Phenomenal. You got Blue Velvet, of course. Because he collaborated a lot with Kyle MacLachlan and with Laura Dern. You've got one of the most seedy, disgusting performances of all time by Dennis Hopper in that movie. I rewatched the other day Lost Highway, which I absolutely love, and it was really interesting to go back to because I don't think I've seen it since the late 90s there somewhere. And it's been quite a few years, it's like 20 odd years since I watched it. And I thought, geez, it's really nice to come back to this. And I realized what an amazing modern neo-noir it is. It's such a film noir. And there was loads about it I never ever realized or picked up on the first time. And I think that's one of the great things about David Lynch's oeuvre is you can go back to his films any number of times and you'll be finding more itty-bitties and little things in there you didn't notice the first time. Such an amazingly strong, singular voice in cinema. I was gutted. I was gutted to hear that he'd gone.
It was gutting to hear he's gone. We know he hasn't been well in the last couple of years. He's talked about this. He was saying that the smoking had, over his lifetime, had really affected his health, and he struggled to walk across a room effectively. He was very housebound
without being out of breath.
Yeah, so in certain aspects, I'm glad he's not in like that kind of any pain he was in or anything like that. But he was such a great person as well. He was a great director, did amazing films. I've loved him. His films, Mulholland Drive is one of my favourite films ever. I kind of got into him when I was studying film in college, and Mulholland Drive was the first film, and suddenly it opened up this kind of, I'm going to go check out this guy's other work,
Yeah.
All those great films, Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart.
Wild at Heart.
Lost Highway, Twin Peaks, of course.
The Straight Story
so
as well is amazing. I mean,
The Straight Story.
we did a top 5 David Lynch films. I'll put a link to that in the description as well, which we, that was our sort of top 5. But really, he didn't do that many films over his career. Maybe 11 films, something for each film. So he's one of them. Like Kubrick, there's not that many anyway. You may as well have done all of them. But
yeah, just go watch the whole lot.
But
yeah, I mean, amazing director, but an amazing artist.
Yeah, much more than just a filmmaker or a TV writer and director and producer.
Exactly.
He's massively into transcendental meditation. So, like the Beatles, he was in with Maharishi and was a great promoter of transcendental meditation. Some of the stuff I've heard him talk about, those kind of things, is fascinating to listen to him talk about the unified field and pure bliss, and negativity is the enemy of creativity and all this stuff. Absolutely wonderful stuff. And like I said, a massive inspiration to me in my life.
It is. I agree with you. The great things about his films are that you say you can keep on going back and reinventing these films in your own head. That they're so open, interpretive, creative, artistic. They're not of the norm, as they would say.
No.
After he obviously died last week, I spent some time on Blue Sky, on Instagram, reading people's stuff, watching some YouTube clips that people put up. And it was very gratifying to read people's thoughts and
massive,
and what it meant to
massive
them.
outpour of love for him.
And then the other day I actually watched Mark Commode and Mayo. They did a little clip. It's on their YouTube channel. I would recommend people watch it. There's some really nice emails they received, people talking about it, and they were talking about it. And I think the one thing that stuck with me, the description of he was the great American surrealist. Yes. And you think, yes, of the modern times, he was the guy, and he really changed. When you think, when people start talking about it, you go, oh yeah, of course. His influence on cinema of the last 20 years or so, for other people's films is massive, and people who are maybe as not into film and not watch David Lynch or something, it's touched them as well without them even knowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
His influence. So
huge influence,
amazing guy. And
isn't it nice that someone of his generation as well has died with, and pretty much universally loved by by everybody who hears about it. And he's not one of these characters where he dies and there's a certain faction saying, yeah, but what about he did this and did that? Isn't it wonderful that he was just a wonderful, sweet man who didn't have his shady past somewhere hiding in the background? He was just straight down the line as he was, and you can tell that by the stars that work with him. When you listen to Naomi Watts or Laura Dern or Kyle MacLachlan or any of them talk about him, it's only with love. It's just pure love they've got for him. Isabella Rossellini, there's another one. She was great in Blue Velvet, and it's affected them all deeply, and you can tell it's sincere when they talk about him. So, yeah, I think we've all lost one there. If you really are a David Lynch fan, then please let us know your favourite David Lynch films or moments. We'd love to hear from you talking about him. As I say, we got a top 5 list. I'll put that in the description if you want to check out our website article about David Lynch. But, yeah, into the unknown, Godspeed. He's already on another journey now, I reckon. Okay, my friend, I think that is number 68 in the can. We are pretty much done here. That just gives us enough time to remind people that we do have a website, moremovies.co.uk, on which there are scores of podcasts to watch or listen to, where we've talked about hundreds and hundreds of films by now. There's lots of film reviews as well, articles, top 5s, top 7s, top 9s, all of that sort of stuff. So have a mooch about at moremovies.co.uk if you want more content from us that isn't just watching us here on YouTube or listening to us on the podcast. We do have audio only as well, is worth saying, across all the usual platforms, whether that be Spotify, Apple, whatever. We're on there. You can find us. There's links below.
And we're all across social media, mainly on Blue Sky. That's our new hangout. So come join the fun over at Blue Sky. We're all going.
Yeah, get off Twitter, kids. Get away from them fascists.
We are on Instagram and Facebook and things like that, but mainly on Blue Sky. So come check us out. Come follow us. Come be friends with us.
Join in the conversation. Exactly. Also, would like to thank our regular supporters over on Patreon, which is Michele and Shayne. Hi, Shayne. We haven't seen you for ages. We hope you're all right. Lots of love. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And, of course, Michele. Fantastic. You are unbelievably kind to us, and we love you very much. We are also on Buy Me a Coffee, so you can support us there. Thanks very much to Monica, who supported us there over the last few months. We really appreciate your contributions. As we always say, the best way to support us really is to give us a like and share our content, or do stuff like that. But if you are in a position at all to spare us a few shekels for a coffee, then you can do that over on Buy Me a Coffee as well.
As we mentioned, we talked about some of the Oscar-nominated films that we've talked about previously in last year, so you can check out all those articles. We'll leave some links in the descriptions below, but they're all on moremovies.co.uk with the archive of our previous podcast.
And there we go, into 2025, lots of great movies to see, and I am really looking forward to it, to be honest. I hope the Oscars doesn't come around too quickly, because I've got to squeeze in some of these movies
squeeze in the films
before we see them. But there we go. Thanks very much for tuning in and spending this time with us. We'd love to hear from you in the comments, as we always say. But that's it, Dave. Any last thoughts before we go?
Well, really, just as you say, it's 2025, exciting Oscars season, and there's going to be loads of great films coming up this year, I hope. So, looking forward to it.
That's it. Stay tuned. Keep watching more movies. Well, that's it for this video. Please leave us a comment and let us know what you thought. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe right here on YouTube. To check out more of our articles and reviews, check out our website, moremovies.co.uk. And why not join us on social media? That's at More Movies for you, across the board. You know the score. And if you'd like to support us, consider buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com, or you can become a More Movies patron over on patreon.com. All the links are in the description below. And to check out more of our filmtastic videos, click one of the buttons on screen now.